Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. It's been a while since she's been on the show. Her name is Laura Saul, and she is back, and she is here to talk about the Connecticut Veterans Parade, which she has been a part of from the beginning. First of all, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Tell us, the Connecticut Veterans Parade, what's it all about?
This year's parade is on Sunday, November 6th. It is the largest veterans parade in all of New England, one of the largest salutes to veterans in the nation, and we are expecting approximately 3,000 marchers, almost everyone a veteran, from all across the state.
Wow. How did it start, and how did it end up being the biggest?
The story is very interesting. Back in the year 2000, there is a woman named Marilda Gondera. Her family came from Cuba when she was a little girl. And she grew up in the United States and really felt very fortunate to have her freedom. She took her son to see Saving Private Ryan. You remember that film about World War II.
Yeah.
And she was very moved by it. And he was a teenager, and he said, "Mom, these guys were amazing. How come we don't recognize their heroism?" And she said, "You're right." She, fortunately, was at Aetna. She was in the foundation area, very tied in with the community, and she started contacting friends and community groups and saying, "We've got to do something to honor these veterans." And so the grassroots effort swelled. The first parade was just in the Hartford area, and there were quite a few marchers. Even though we had to convince people to come, there hadn't been a parade in Hartford in a decade. But we had about 1,500 marchers who came. And the next year was 9/11.
Oh, boy, yeah.
But there was a lot of patriotism right after that.
Yeah.
And so we made it a statewide parade, and it ballooned and ballooned and ballooned until we are at our 17th year.
Now, when you say statewide, does that mean there is still one big one, or are there different ones all over the state at the same time? How does it work?
There is one big one in the state capitol,
Okay.
and we have marchers coming from all over the state just on that day to march, and spectators too.
How long has it been going on for since?
This is our 17th year.
Wow. And what have you learned over, because you've been with it from the beginning? There's always things, you tweak it every year. There's always a few things that you learn, maybe what to do, what not to do, things like that.
Yeah, we have changed it over the year. We have added in the early years a moment of silence, which we do. The parade steps off at 12:30. At 1:30, we do a moment of silence where everything stops. And we remember service people who died in the line of duty. And then we follow that with the national anthem and overhead this year. And I'm going to tell you, we just learned about this last week.
Is this breaking news going on?
Yeah, kind of breaking news.
Okay.
Overhead, wrapping up the moment of silence, we will have an aircraft. The National Guard has helped do that. Go overhead, capping off that moment of silence. Very powerful. That's a new feature. We added a few years ago an 11:30 wreath-laying ceremony. So if you come early, you can go to the wreath-laying ceremony. It's brief, it's poignant, there's music. And then about 10 years ago, we added an essay contest for middle school students, because what we've learned is this is just not a parade to go and wave. This is an educational experience. So we ask middle school students to write a paper about why we should honor our veterans, and they are honored at the state capitol. They read them there, and the winner rides in the parade.
Wow, that's great. Now, since the parade is so big, I would imagine all people of all walks of life are in it, bands, obviously a lot of veterans. Tell me about the vast array of displays that are going through the parade.
Yes, I will, and it's interesting that the parade we're expecting 3,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
There will be people who step off, and when they go through a half an hour later, there will still be people in line waiting to go. There are so many people who want to march. It's not like a St. Patrick's Day parade.
Yeah.
We don't have beauty queens. We say that. We don't throw candy. This is almost every single marcher is a veteran. So it's a celebratory parade. You have everything from recreation groups, the Civil War recreation groups that march through. You have Gold Star mothers and wives. You have Vietnam veterans, Korean War veterans, World War II veterans. One of our marshals this year, Mr. Hushak from Southington, is 93 years old, and he marches in uniform every single year.
Wow.
Proudly.
Wow.
So we have just about every conflict represented. We have active military marching. So it's a wonderful educational experience, and it's a time where people do step forward and say thank you. We hand out signs that say thank you, but people bring their own. And sometimes when it's stopped, people jump out and just shake one of the marchers' hands.
And that's got to be one of the greatest feelings for those in the parade,
Yes.
to have someone be appreciative to want to just shake your hand. That's
Exactly.
all. You know?
And that's why a lot of them, we still have World War II vets, and many of them are in vehicles, but they say, that's why I keep coming. I'm doing it for my buddies. I'm doing it because it makes me feel good.
How lucky have you gotten over the years as far as the cooperation of the weather? Is it a rain or shine event, by the way?
It's a rain or shine event.
Okay.
We had a couple of interesting years with Hurricane Sandy.
Oh, boy.
So we had.
You couldn't go through a simple hurricane? What is it with this parade?
I know. Well, what happened was one of the years, there was Sandy, and then there was another one like 2 or 3 years apart. The problem was the southern part of the state was shut down. So, when they finally got their power back, I couldn't quite blame them for wanting to clear their yard.
Right. That year they wanted to move Halloween for the Monday after. It was
I
so
know.
bad,
But the truth of it is, even during those years, when you see the veterans that came out to march, it couldn't stop them.
Yeah.
So.
Now, I want to just briefly ask you about one of the other marshals for the parade who will be our guest in the second segment. He won't want to brag as much as we would like to brag about him a little bit.
Yeah.
So please do.
So you're talking about John G. Casey Jr., who's known as Jack, and most of the veterans community in the state does know him. He is a U.S. Navy Vietnam vet, and he has dedicated probably the last 30 years of his life to supporting other veterans. He is one of the leaders of the Connecticut Patriot Guard Riders. They escort military funerals or funerals of veterans. They provide motorcycle escorts. Very, very moving. This week alone, I know he's going here and there and everywhere. If anybody needs an escort, if the family requests or the funeral home requests, they are there. He's also very active with acknowledging World War II vets, Army, Navy. He personally has uploaded names to the World War II Memorial database.
Yeah, we're going to get into that a lot in the second segment because that's really a passionate. How about his role as marshal for the parade?
What he's been doing as a marshal, other than proudly march, is he's going around and talking about the importance of this parade to veterans. That might be something to ask him, because he puts a face on it. And we have 2 other veterans this year, marshals. We try to make them very diverse in the conflicts they served to really help inform people about who veterans are and the many ways they serve.
Now, one other thing that I want to get into before your segment wraps up is people over the years have requested information about how they could help out in some way, whether it be financially or maybe volunteering or any aspect. And so what you've done is you come up with an easy way for them to be involved, right?
Well, this is, we have a new way to raise funds because we must tell you, it costs a lot of money to run a parade.
Yeah.
This is not donated. And in Hartford, the rules have changed about things like that. So we have to pay for a lot, the protection services, the police, fire, ambulance, all of that. And so we have created a 17 for Vets, a social media campaign. It's hashtag 17 for Vets. But also you can go to our website, ctveteransparade.org. There's a button on the home page, press it, and it will take you to the fundraising page. You could give whatever you want, but you could just press 17. And also I want to remind all of your viewers who are veterans, if you haven't signed up to march, I'll give you the number. You can do it online as well at that website, or just come on down. Come on down that morning. Come down by, let's say, about 10:30 in the morning. We'll find a place for you to march.
I was going to ask you, is there anything that you need still at this point before the parade goes off? Volunteers, anything like that?
I think we're in very good shape with volunteers.
Okay.
Eversource has been terrific. A lot of their employees donate their time. We need marchers, but more than that, we need spectators because It's cold out on November 6th.
Yeah.
Bundle up, bring a chair. If you have 3,000 people marching, you want to make sure there are people there to salute them and say thank you. So I say to your listeners, get away from your computer, get away from the TV, drive to Hartford. It's a few hours, a couple of hours, 12:30 to 2:30. It's going to make such a difference in these veterans' lives.
And it's Sunday, November 6th. Is this date and location in Hartford still, has that been working out for you over the years?
Well, we do it on different dates. I'll tell you candidly, we do it, this is the first Sunday because the Connecticut National Guard has been really supportive in helping us with logistics. There's nothing like having 3,000 veterans come up and go, where do I go? Then have 6 service people go, there. So that is their drill weekend,
Right.
and it works out for them.
Okay.
It is right before Election Day, but I can promise your viewers that only if you're not an elected official already, and you're not a veteran, you're not marching.
Right.
So if you're a veteran, you can march, but if you're running and you've never been in the service, you will not be marching.
There you go. One more time on the website.
The website is www.ctveteransparade.org, and the phone number to sign up to march as well, 860-986-7254. We're on Facebook and we're on Twitter.
And by the way, the social media that you're on, you could probably get to it going through your website, right? You can click on
Absolutely.
links there.
Absolutely.
What will you be doing that day?
I will be there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and
Wow.
hopefully there will be a lot of media like you
There you
wanting
go.
to preview the parade, but helping just to welcome the veterans. And the State Department of Veterans Affairs, their kitchen makes cookies. So when these guys assemble in the morning, these women, they have a cup of coffee from the Salvation Army and cookies. So I'll be helping.
All right. Laura Saul, thanks for enlightening us. An exciting time for the Connecticut Veterans Parade. Coming up soon. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Short break. Come right back. Sean Murphy, this is For the Record. Stay right there. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. Second segment, the man is a Navy veteran, a Vietnam War veteran. His name is John G. Casey Jr. Shall we call you Jack? You want
sir.
Jack? Jack, thank you
Please.
for being on the show, and thank you for serving your country. Very much appreciated. Even Laura mentioned you in the first segment. Now, we talked about the parade, the Connecticut Veterans Parade, and we can talk about that a little bit more. But what you're working on now, it's amazing. It's a passion for you. It's a labor of love. Describe exactly what you're doing.
I can get on the Navy Memorial, the Army Memorial, and the World War II Memorial to enter veterans that served in the different conflicts from World War II to the present-day wars. I'm also working on the 100 Vietnam veterans that we have no pictures for. Central Connecticut State University and the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund are trying to get a picture of everybody that was lost in Vietnam from all causes so that we can remember them. And I still can't find 100, so I'm trying to do is get the word out that it might be a fellow graduate at college or high school, could have been a member of the family. Somebody has to have a picture. If 3.5 million people in the state, somebody has a picture of who they are, and I can put them on the memorial.
Tell me about how it started for you. Why one day you said, you know what, this shouldn't continue the way it is. People should be remembered. You should know who they are. Picture here, more data, more information there. How did it start for you?
In 2001, I retired from Pfizer after 33 years, and it was just the beginning of World War II Memorial finally being built and dedicated in 2004. Already they had started the database, and I found it by accident. And I asked if I could put names on there, and I was told if I got an account number and they would provide it, I could put the information in. And I take it directly from the discharge papers, so I'm using the exact terms of during World War II with the different campaigns, when they served, their dates of birth, and all that. And by the time the World War II Memorial was dedicated, and I got the chance to be there in the press section, I already had 400 on there.
Wow.
Now I have 48,000 between the three memorials.
And still going. It's still going
Every
strong.
day. When I go home, I'll be putting some more on today.
Now, there was, like, for example, a situation would be like a sailor would have lost at sea or something like that, right?
Yeah, for Vietnam, when they put
Right.
people that were lost in Vietnam on the Navy Memorial, they had to put something on the line, otherwise you couldn't do it, so it said lost at sea.
But that was it.
Right.
Yeah.
And they had the name and the grade, and they knew what day they died, but they didn't know what date they went in the service, where they were born. And just because the last place that you came from might not necessarily be where you were born. So by going on Find a Grave, I can find out where you're born and get the information. So I'd go in and update them. I'm allowed, there are 7 of us in the country that are allowed to go on the Navy Memorial and add information. I update them, and then every night I pay on Facebook, I put Faces of the Fallen, and I type out their name and when they died and where they died in Vietnam. So a lot of people that can see me on Facebook see it. They say, oh, he's been busy again.
Never not busy though, right?
I always have stuff to put on.
Now, you work with 3 memorials, right?
Yes, sir.
And for some reason, the Air Force one, you don't
Air
have...
Force doesn't have a database yet
Okay.
to be able to put it on, and I hear talk that the Korean Memorial may add a database to enter veterans.
Okay. Because you do World War II and then like Vietnam.
Army and Navy, right?
Right.
Well, because when I do World War II, I automatically, now, I can get on all 3 of them. So while I'm putting you on the World War II, I look to see if you're a sailor, a soldier, a Marine, and I put you on the correct memorial for that branch of service. And then especially when we do funerals, everybody that we do the funeral for, I automatically do them and then send it to the family.
Now, it's amazing the research you do and the avenues you will travel, so to speak, to find information. For example, there might be a day where you may go to the local public library, go into the old, microfiche section looking for information because that's where that information was. And somewhere else you may call somebody, they may say, explain some of the processes that you go through.
I can go online and find a lot of information. One picture took 5 hours. I kept looking and looking, and finally they had dedicated a gym, and I kept looking through it, and I finally found this picture. Others, I've gone to the New London Library and gone through the microfilm. The old days was crank the knob, the new one is press the button.
Right.
At 2 hours of doing that, I go cross-eyed. I have to stop.
Take a break.
But there's a lot of different databases now for anything that you want to find if you just have the time. Some of these only take 2.5 minutes to enter, and some of them take hours trying to find it. I've called schools. It's kind of hard to figure out what school they went to, if like New London or Groton, or some of them have multiple high schools. I can't tell you when they graduated. I can give you a rough date with a couple of years of when you did it. Some like Jewett City, the following year after the Marine died, the yearbook had a picture of him just inside the cover. So that was a great find. The family was tickled pink, that you could find a picture in that. Anything I do is so that you'll remember them. I want you to remember who pays for your society, who pays for everything you have, up to and including their life. And that Gold Star families are the most wonderful people in the world, that they gave up their sons, their daughters, their husbands, their wives. I believe that's the reason we have Veterans Parade, so that somewhere along the line you have a chance to people that you do not know, that you can say thank you. I would love the day to come when I go to a school and ask them, who was the last person that was killed in the war in your town? And you can't answer the question, but if I ask you how many girlfriends does Justin Bieber have, you can answer that.
The fact that you know who Justin Bieber is quite impressive, by the way. So
only because I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah, we'll see that, and I'm glad that you recognize that that's where. And we talked about this in the first segment. A website is great, but it's static. Facebook is where the people are, and also it's where they can be interactive. They can comment.
Yep.
You put up a picture of somebody that you just found, you're going to get a whole bunch of likes.
Oh, yeah.
A whole bunch of comments.
Sometimes you might see somebody from the family. Because I look in there, and when somebody says this is the anniversary of my son or my daughter, my husband or my wife, and I go in, and the first thing I do is look at the memorial. If I don't find anything, I'll find the information and do it. I did all 66 in Connecticut. I went through the books and did that there's 615 Vietnam veterans in Connecticut, and only 100 of them I couldn't find the pictures. It's worth the effort if the end result is that somebody that you'll remember what they did for you. Even if you couldn't remember their name, you can read what they did, ribbons and medals they were awarded. Some of them I do silver stars, purple hearts. I always put the citation on Facebook too. right after the entry, so you can see what happened.
There was one story you were telling me off the air about while you were doing the research. They had his information but didn't realize the medals that were available, right?
A lot of World War II veterans, as I type it out, I always put awarded and the name of the ribbons and medals. Most of them after World War II never got the medals. And a lot of them since then have been awarded other things, other medals and that they don't even know about. It's not on their discharge when they got out in 1945. And so I do every single one, find out the maximum number of what they're supposed to have, and send in the form that tells you what you need to get those ribbons and medals issued again. And it is surprising. I've done some there where they asked the congressman's office. The husband had already died to get his ribbons and medals, and I had a chance to be there. And I asked her, could I get a copy of his discharge? She said, sure.
And you take that information
Yeah.
and you use it to
Right,
find
put
out
the
everything.
information down, yep. And then I asked her, there was 2 pictures. I said, which one would you want me to put on there so other generations know your husband? And it was a picture of a half-track in World War II. And then I made enough copies all the way down to the great-grandchildren so that all of them would have what Grandpa did, what Dad did, you know.
It's almost like a family tree.
Oh, yeah, it is really amazing. Going through the books, and it goes, some of them go all the way back to the Spanish-American War. You see the same names. Generation after generation, they went to war. Some were lost, some survived. And it's just amazing that you see the names. If you remember anything from this speech, remember 1% of the people serve this country, and 99% of the people don't. And they're the ones that complain the most, but if that 1% hadn't stepped up and signed their name and were willing to risk their life for this country, you should remember them. If you can come out on Veterans Day, you can say thank you. I learned after Vietnam what a baby killer was, a war criminal, and they had nothing to do with you. And it took all these years to finally get around to thank Vietnam veterans at 50 years. My whole ideal in life is that you won't do this again, that you'll learn, you know, not on my coin says, not on my watch. We're not going to make the same mistakes from Vietnam now. Now it's your kids and your grandchildren. Do you want to change the way we do things? It would be nice. If you can come out on Veterans Day, you can say thank you. I would appreciate that.
Jack, if somebody's looking to find out information and you can help, how do they reach out to you?
I will provide you with paperwork, the website, phone numbers, blank forms that you can make out if you want people registered on them. Because they have websites. I've had people call me up and they have the discharge papers, and I ask you on each line, a certain number on that line, the information I need. We never use service numbers. We never use Social Security numbers. The only one that will know your address when I mail everything back with the certificates for the different memorials is me. And then anything I used for information to do that is sent back. I already learned that anything else that's left over, I make a copy of each one I do, so at the end of the year I can tell the Army Memorial or the Navy Memorial how many I put on. And then I destroy it. I shred everything that I touch. It's important. World War II discharge papers do not have Social Security numbers on it. DD 214s that start in 1950 do. You can black it out, you can cut it out. I do not need it. It's not that important. All I want is your name, your grade or rank, what unit you were attached to, and ribbons and medals that were awarded, battles and campaigns. They're called Bronze Service Stars. For World War II, they were called Battle Stars. Just enough information that other generations will know what these people did for us in our name and for our country.
And you can see Jack, by the way, out at the Connecticut Veterans Parade, Sunday, November 6th in Hartford. Pleasure having you on the show, sir, and thank you for serving. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
A Navy veteran, a Vietnam War veteran, his name is John Jack G. Casey Jr. Pleasure having him on the show for a segment, and that is our show for today. You can see this show, by the way, and many others on our YouTube site. Till next time, I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Take care.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
it.